told you you were trouble, you'll forever be alone. When he told you you should run away, you'll never find a home. When he told you you were dirty and you should be ashamed. When he told you you could be the one that grace could never change. Oh, fear is a liar. He will take your breath, stop you in your steps. Fear is a liar. He will rob your rest, steal your happiness, cast your fear in the fire. 'Cause fear, he is a liar. Let your fire fall and cast out all my fear. Let your fire fall, your love is all I feel. Let your fire fall and cast out all my fear. Let your fire fall, your love is all I feel. Let your fire fall and cast out all my fear. Let your fire fall, your love is all I feel. Let your fire fall and cast out all my fear. Let your fire fall, your love is all I feel. Oh, fear is a liar. Oh, he will take your breath, stop you in your steps. Fear is a liar. Oh, he will rob your rest, steal your happiness, cast your fear in the fire. 'Cause fear, he is a liar. 'Cause fear, he is a liar.
Good morning. Good morning to our live stream audience, as well as folks here that are just live, right? Thank you for being here today. We're very excited about our day today. And we have Brother Joseph Shulam from Jerusalem, who is going to be sharing with us in Bible class. And then he will also be preaching in the service. And so, brother, if you'll come on up. And I want to have a prayer with you, and we'll let you get started sharing with us, okay? Father in heaven, thank you so much for allowing us to partner with such a great man of faith as Joseph, and for such a long period of time that we've been able to work together. I pray you bless him today as he shares with us, and bless us with hearts that are open to learn. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Well, thank you. I'm very happy to be back in Whites Ferry Road and in West Monroe. And during this Bible class, I am not going to preach or teach. I'm going to share. And I'm going to share what's going on in the Jewish world, and specifically in our ministry in Jerusalem and around the world, because during the sermon, there's no time to share this information. This church has been supporting our radio ministry for more than 20 years. I don't know exactly how many years, but more than 20 years. Our radio ministry started with the Transworld Radio. It was one of the big Christian radio ministries in the world. And in the last year and a half, when the corona started, we gave up the radio. Why did we give up the radio? Because for 2 years we had not a single response. Because we were broadcasting on AM radio, and hardly anybody listens anymore to AM radio. And most people that listen to radio, they listen on FM radio and in their car when they're driving home. And so the numbers declined, and after 2 years of not getting a single response, we decided we need responses. And we're in the ministry of soul winning. And so if we don't have responses and we're spending so much money on broadcasting on radio, we better find a better way to use that money. And we have a really interesting web page, and we're on Facebook and on YouTube and probably on several other venues that only the young people know. And it's been phenomenal, really phenomenal. And if you go to YouTube, for example, or to Facebook and just write Joseph Shulam, or the name of our ministry is Netivya, NETIVYAH.org, then you'll see that some of the teachings that we have there, thousands of people view and respond. And literally every week there is hundreds of responses from all around the world. And that is really the tools of the future. Radio is a tool of the past already. And so I have essentially retired. I'm still working hard, but I'm retired. We have installed new leadership, and the leadership, all the leadership, are children that were born in our ministry. I discipled their parents, very famous Messianic Jewish leaders that I discipled, and their children are now the leaders. So they're organic. They're born in our ministry, and all the boys that are in the office, every single one of them, I'm their godfather. Don Corleone, Shulam. I'm literally their godfather, and they never forgave me. Because a Jewish godfather is not like an Italian godfather. A Jewish godfather is the guy who holds the baby down while he's getting circumcised. And so they have respect, but no fear from me anymore. They never did. But they're doing a wonderful job. And you can, if you go to the Netivya Facebook or web page, then you'll see that they're doing wonderful teaching and very evangelistic and outreach. One of the strangest things that happened in the last 3 months is that I was not gone out of the country. I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks. And they got a phone call from Papua New Guinea. I've never been in that part of the world. Israelis can't travel in Indonesia because we don't have diplomatic relationship with them. So somebody called from Papua New Guinea and said that they saw our teaching in the media. I don't know which one it was, Facebook or whatever it was, and that they were interested in receiving teaching from us. And so Yuda, the young man that's leading there now, leading the ministry, and did a Zoom meeting with them, and he thought it would be, several people. On the first Zoom meeting, there were 2,000 people. 2,000 people, about 200 congregations all around Indonesia and Papua New Guinea. And And then when I got out of the hospital, they asked for me to teach. And they've been asking me to teach every day if I had the energy and the time to do it. And so it's an amazing thing. They're really drinking the gospel with such thirst that I haven't seen in the West for many, many years. The last time I saw that kind of thirst for evangelism was in 1962, 63, 64, in the early 1960s. Since then, I haven't seen it very much in the churches of Christ or in the evangelical camp at all. Yeah. So this is a God-given opportunity that Satan wanted to shut the world down with the corona, and it was made in China, and also the Zoom was made in China. And the Zoom is a fantastic tool that goes really around the world. And so that Papua New Guinea thing is a brand new thing. But I want to encourage you all to go to our webpage, to the netivyaah.org webpage, and you can download their magazines, wonderful color, all written by our staff, free. All the literature we have is free except 5 books. 2 of them were published by the Hebrew University, and another one was published by another publisher in the United States. And we don't own the copyright to the ones of the Hebrew University. We have to buy them ourselves or print them for ourselves. But all the other literature is free, and there's lots of lectures and videos and on the webpage. And also just write either Joseph Shulam on the TV, on Facebook, on YouTube, and you will be amazed what you'll find. Literally amazed what you'll find. And I think you'll learn a lot. The reason you learn a lot is because we in Israel are close to the source. Like our Prime Minister Menachem Begin said to the President, to Clinton, he said, for you to talk to God, it's a long distance call. From Jerusalem, it's a local call. And so, yeah, we're close to the source, to the land, to the places where the things happened. And also to the languages, to the biblical languages. The Bible wasn't written in English. It was written in Hebrew and in Greek. And so I could give you some examples of these things. For example, I will make you fishers of men. Most of you don't know where Jesus took it from, right? You think he invented it. He didn't invent it. He's actually saying something that says in the book of Genesis. I'll give you an example. Chapter 12 of Genesis, verse 6, it says that Abraham came with his wife Sarah, with Lot and his family, and with the souls which he had made in Haran. What does it mean to make souls? It's evangelism. Soul winning. Who's the guy who invented the phrase soul winning? He's sitting here, right? Yeah, he's sitting here in the crowds. Yeah, Larry West, the first guy that I heard about soul winning. Yeah, soul making is soul winning, and Abraham was the biggest soul winner in the whole Bible. How many souls did he make? How many souls did he came with him from Assyria to the land of Canaan? Do we know? Who knows? We know. He had, in chapter 14 of Genesis, Abraham had 318 soldiers between the age of 20 and 50. men, soldiers, in his camp between the age of 20 and 50. Okay, not now, but even 20 years ago, in Israel, if you were 20, very likely you were either getting married or married already. Yeah? And 50, we very likely you had at least one child or more. So if we had 318 soldiers between the age of 20 and 50, and each one had one wife and one child, it was 1,000 people in his camp, which came with him from Assyria, from Haran. And then Jacob at his deathbed, somebody opened the Bible in chapter 48, verse 16 of Genesis. My iPad is there, but anyway, you can read without an accent. Or with a different accent. Genesis 48, verse 16.
The angel who has redeemed me from all evil, bless the boys, and may my name live on in them, and the names of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and may they grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth.
It made multitudes, right? What does it mean, it made multitudes? They were a very small family. You know, even though Abraham had 3 wives, Sarah, Hagar, and Keturah, it was a small family. The same thing is with Isaac. He had a smaller family because he got married when he was 40 years old. And then Isaac had Esau and Jacob. And Jacob had 12 sons. I don't know how many daughters he had. In those days, they didn't count the daughters very much because they got married to somebody else and they changed their name and they moved out of the house and so forth. But there were not a multitude. This text says that Abraham and Isaac, the fathers and the father and the grandfather of Jacob, made multitudes of people. But the word for multitude in Hebrew, how many of you have studied Hebrew? I see that the guy had a family written mishpacha on the shirt, and then somebody had the name of God in the back of their shirt in Hebrew. So somebody knows a little bit of Hebrew here. The word is fish. Dag. Dag is fish. Vayidgu means that they fished these multitudes. Like fish spawns thousands of eggs, they fished. That's where Jesus got the idea, I will make you fishers of men. You children of Abraham have to follow Abraham, your father. Yeah. So, yes, you can learn a lot of things on YouTube, on Facebook, on the web page of Nativia, and you will love it. You will enjoy it. And you can download the magazine. Each magazine is on another subject. The latest one is on modernicity. Very important magazine about the culture that is taking over the West. You know, modernicity. And it's an eye-opener for a lot of people because they're not aware of the undergirding, the philosophical undergirding of what's happening in their own world. It's not happening by itself. There is somebody sowing tares in God's field of wheat. And if we're not aware of it, then we're going to lose our children and the next generation and be a tragedy. Yeah. Because a lot of things that are going on are tares in God's field. So, what's happening in Jerusalem? Like I said, I've formally transferred the ministry to the young people that were born and raised in our congregation. Now, our congregation is very special. All the kids that went to the army that were born in our congregation, every single one of them received the Presidential Award of an Excellent Soldier, and only 120 soldiers a year received that award. And every one of the kids that went, my daughter got it 2 years, and knew that a guy who is now is actually in active duty, in reserve duty, he got it 2 years also. And so that is very unique. We're a very militant congregation. And we train the kids from, I'll share with you. I don't normally do this. At the age of 7, there's 2 things that I teach and taught all the kids that were born and raised in our congregation. Teach them how to drink alcohol and teach them how to shoot guns and how to climb up and down mountains, steep, very steep rock cliffs. These 3 things I teach them. First of all, why I teach them how to drink alcohol? Because if I am not going to teach them, and their parents are not going to be on my side teaching their children how to drink, their buddies in school are going to teach them. And that's very dangerous. Because if we, the adults in their life, the influential adults in their life teach them, we teach them the right way to drink. And nobody is a drunkard, and nobody is an alcoholic. Several generations of children, they drink Friday night, they take a drink, but that's it, one. And that's it, responsibly. Yeah? And how to shoot, they need to learn how to shoot before they go to the army. Yeah? Every man should know how to shoot. Yeah. Because if he knows how to shoot, he will never have to shoot somebody. If he doesn't know how to shoot, very likely he'll make a mistake and shoot somebody. And so these 3 things, and that attracts the youth. Yeah, expecting the youth to sit in church quiet every week and not engaging them in outside the church. Yeah, and not making sure that they become buddies, not only fellow Christians, is very important. And so we have done this from many, many years. And we have, in all these years, we've lost two girls that their parents were not exactly very faithful Christians and not very honest. But all the other kids are walking with the Lord. And not only walking, they're leaders walking with the Lord. So this is about our local ministry in Nativia, in Jerusalem. And they get married, they have children, they're there, because that's where their buddies are, that's where their friends are. That's where they had fun, not only church. And that's very important. We invest a lot of our time and our money with the youth. Yeah, it's the most important mission field is your children. And what's the most important text in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, both? Who knows? Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one God, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your might and with all your soul, right? That's the most important Jewish text in the whole Bible. It's quoted several times by Jesus and by the apostles, and even in the book of Revelation it's hinted at. Yeah? what comes the next verse after you shall love the Lord your God? And you shall teach your children in the morning when they get up, and when they're walking in the highway, and when they're going to sleep. That's the pinnacle of Jewish thinking, is that text, Hear, O Israel. But the next thing right after is your children. It's your next generation. And if we don't do that, there's no future. So we're very proud of our youth. The youth group now is more than 20 children. And they're not only from our congregation. There are other Messianic Jewish congregations in Jerusalem that don't have a youth ministry. And they send their kids to us. Yes. And we learned that from another congregation. There was a missionary called Warren Graham from the Christian Missionary Alliance. He was a missionary in Jerusalem, but he was a wise missionary. He didn't start his own denominational church. He participated with the local believers and not teach his denominational inclinations, but work with the youth. Barry, did you go build the model airplanes with Warren? No. Yes or no? No, you didn't. You did with John Massey. Yeah. Anyway, this Warren Graham and his wife invited the kids. It was after Barry's time. And he provided the balsa wood and all the equipment, and they built model airplanes. And most of the kids that were in that generation remained friends and remained involved in the gospel and with other youth, doing the same thing that they learned from Warren Graham. Yeah. Investing in the next generation is the most important mission field in your life. Yeah, because what are you going to gain? You lose your children, you're going to win other people from outside to the Lord. Both of these things are very important, but your children are more important. Your youth is more important. And that's essentially the kind of the specialty of our congregation and our ministry in Jerusalem. And we're very proud of these kids. They're, they grow up, they get married, they have families, and because they learn to argue like good Jews from their teachers, and they do a great job. They're a great job. Arguing is an art, and it's an art that you need to learn. Even if you're not Jewish, you need to learn it. On the contrary, if you're not Jewish, you must learn it. Because without that, you can't evangelize. Without knowing how to defend your position, and to debate, and to bring facts, and to display the facts in the right way, you can't evangelize. Am I right, Larry? It's not browbeating, yeah, but it is reasoning. There is a difference between browbeating and reasoning. And the truth is, most of our preachers, not only in the churches of Christ, in the evangelical world, don't know how to evangelize. They know how to talk, they know how to teach, but they don't know how to evangelize. Evangelism is another art. It's another art. And Jews are good at it. We don't have play American ball, but we're very good at arguing. and it's an important art. Okay, I have used half of my time, right? I have another half hour? How much do I have? 20 minutes? 50. Okay, I want to open up for questions. Because me talking, you'll learn some things, but you asking, you'll learn more. So if you have any questions about Israel, about ministry in Israel, about our ministry in Israel, then ask.
What was that website again?
What? The website is netivyyah.org. netivyyah.org. That's the website, and my name is spelled Joseph. Shulam is Shulam. Shulam. And you can Google it, you can go to Facebook, you can go to YouTube, and you'll find very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. I've lectured all over the world and in important places and things that are not common. Because, like I said, the language and the Old Testament is not something that our preachers and teachers are trained in very much. For example, I'll give you another example. When Jesus said, turn the other cheek, did he invent that? Was it the original Jesus teaching? No. It's in the book of Lamentations, chapter 3, verse 30. It's right there, openly there. But because our preaching schools and universities don't teach so much Old Testament and don't know the Hebrew, and they miss, somebody open it. Lamentations 3:30. Let's see if I'm right in the right location.
Let him offer his cheek to one who would strike him, and let him be filled with disgrace.
Again?
Let him offer his cheek to one who would strike him, and let him be filled with disgrace.
Okay. It doesn't say there's... the word strike him, they translated strike him. It really says slap him. Yeah. In the face. And he will be filled with... you offer your own cheek to somebody who wants to hit you. What happens when you do that? You defy him. You know, you show him, I'm not scared from you. Yeah. I'm not worried about you striking me because you don't know what I'm going to do to you after you strike me. Yeah. But it's taken right there from the book of Lamentation. And the offering your cheek to the one who wants to strike you in defiance, not in submission. And it's there, right there in the book of Lamentation. But because of the background and the language and the inheritance, the Christian inheritance that inherited from the Catholic Church, the negative attitude toward the Old Testament and toward the law of Moses, Christians don't get to study it very much. And it's a pity because you can't understand the new without the old. The old is the foundation. It's the basis of everything. I didn't say that. Jesus said that. The law and the prophets. Yeah. And so that's another question. Yes. Wait, I'm going to get close to you because I can't hear you.
How do you teach your youth how to drink from age 7 on up?
How do you teach your youth how to drink?
How I give them a beer. I give them a beer. In front of their parents with their parents' approval, of course. Because we have to understand, our world is opened up. with the internet, with the television, with the movies, and the access is there. And if the people that the children respect, their parents and their pastor and their rabbi, don't teach them these things, they're going to learn it from others, from their peers. And when they learn it from the peers, there is no restraint. Do you understand what I mean? They don't learn how to do it right. Yeah. Jesus didn't make grape juice in the wedding in Cana. He made about 600 quarts of wine, good wine, better wine than they had in the beginning of the wedding. And it was not non-alcoholic wine. It was alcoholic wine. And when it says wine in the Bible, it means alcoholic drink. Where did we get the idea that it's forbidden to drink? It's forbidden to get drunk. The sin is getting drunk, not drinking. And if you learn to drink responsibly, then you'll never be drunk. And you know, the churches of Christ had their motto, restoring the first century church. Right? Going back to the Bible. Back to the old path. W.B. West wrote the 3 volumes. Back to the old path. Yeah. But we still, a part of the Western culture is still very, very much traditional Christianity. 3rd and 4th century Christianity. Not 1st century Christianity. And so we need to continue the restoration process. It's not over. It's not finished. In fact, in my opinion, there is a regression. Yes, Larry?
With Jerusalem being such a melting pot of Jews, Arabs, and so
everything.
And with the temple now being run by the Muslims, it seems like it's a hot spot. Very much pressure, more so than maybe any place in the world. You know, are you able to reach Muslim at all?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I have not targeted the Muslims, but the first person that I brought to the Lord was a Muslim. It's a very interesting story. Our elementary school was the only and the first school in Israel to be integrated Jews and Arabs together. And in my class, there were Arabs from a village south of where I lived, south from my neighborhood. And my dad was going in and out of Arab countries, including Jordan. And one day I see this Jordanian money on the living room table. I wanted to show off to the Arab students. So I took the money, and during the intermission, I showed it to one of my Arab classmates, and he took it in his hand, grabbed it, and started running toward this village. I knew if my father finds out that I took that money, I will be in real deep trouble. And in those days, they used a belt. Yeah. Today it's against the law. But I ran after the Arab all the way to his village. And the first time that I went to an Arab village by myself, and he went into his house and shut they have heavy metal doors, shut the door, bolted it, and I kept knocking on the door. Finally, his mother came. Said, "What do you want?" In Arabic. I said, "Your son is a thief." She shut the door in my face. I didn't leave. I waited. About 5 minutes later, she came, holding him by the ear like this. And he's crying, and she's boom on his head. And he's crying, and he's asking forgiveness and giving me back the money. And She grabs me by the hand, by the arm, drags me into the Arab house. I'm scared to death, you know, and sits me on the table and says, Sulha, which in Arabic means, you're going to make peace now. Forgiveness. And she takes a big pot of stuffed grape leaves, turns it over a stainless steel tray, and says, now you eat together. And we ate together. And the next morning in school, 8 o'clock in the morning before the teacher came, he stands on a chair and he says, from now on, and he was the strongest, toughest, biggest kid in the class. He said, anybody that has any dealings with Joseph Shulam has to go through me. And we remained friends until now. I mean,
That's your first experience in door knocking?
yeah, that's a good idea. Yes, it is my first experience in door knocking. The only experience in door knocking. But, for example, Barry, my son, is there, and this Arab brother's sister was his babysitter. His babysitter and my daughter's babysitter. A Palestinian Arab babysitter of my children. And in fact, those are the only Muslims. I brought 2 Muslims to the Lord, that's all. But I brought many more Arabs to the Lord, Christian Arabs from Greek Orthodox background to the Lord. And in fact, I live in a house, beautiful house, with a beautiful view of almost all of Jerusalem, with a beautiful garden and covered parking, and I didn't pay a dime for it. Not 1 cent. An Arab paid for it. Bought it all, completely. Paid for all of it. And he's an Arab crippled guy. He had in his family 5 children. 4 of them were born with muscular dystrophy. And one of them is a graduate of White's Ferry Road School of Preaching. His name was Anton Munayer. Anton Munayer. Anybody remember Anton? Yeah, Anton Munayer, a crippled young Arab, graduated from White's Ferry Road School of Preaching. I sent a Jewish guy over here called Asher Mock, Steve Mock. And he became a great evangelist in the Philippines and brought many, many people to the Lord, both in California and in the Philippines. And just 2 weeks ago, he had a very bad stroke, brain CVA. So we're keeping him in prayer. He's also one of my disciples. And Steve Mock, M-O-C-K is his name. But Anton's brother, I sent him to college at Columbia Christian College in Portland when J.P. Sanders was the president there. And after 2 years in Portland, J.P. calls me and says, Joe, I have some bad news. I have to kick Michelle out. I said, why? He said, well, he is wearing the same jeans for 2 years and he never washed them in the laundry. And I offered him 10 pairs of jeans free if he gives me that dirty old pair. And he refused, and he's disobedient and rebellious, and so I have to kick him out. So he kicked him out. Michel had $50 in his pocket, and 10 years later he sold his company for $410 million. Crippled Arab. And the first thing he did, he called the phone and said, I want you to buy a place to live, a house. You can use up to $1 million, buy a house. I have only one condition. I want to be able to come and visit you, so there must be no stairs in the house. And we found a house like this, and He paid for it, and we live in it. And so, yes, God is a just rewarder of all those who diligently seek Him. That's a biblical teaching, and we need to believe it. And yes, Michel is still alive. There's not a week that passes by that he doesn't call me to tell me all kinds of jokes. He lives in California. He's got two houses, one in Beverly Hills and the other one in Laguna Beach, right on the beach, but he can't go to the beach because he's crippled, in a wheelchair. Now he's in a wheelchair, and very faithful young man. I have 7 disciples that live in Los Angeles. 4 of them are Arab, from the same family, and 3 of them are Jews, and they all come from the city of Lydda, where Peter went to pray and heal Dorcas. And they tried to go to a Church of Christ, where J.J. Turner used to preach, and they couldn't, how should I say? They didn't like to stay there. So they left, and so now they meet every Thursday in an Arab restaurant in Beverly Hills, and they eat together Arab food, Israeli Arab food, and they start their services in the restaurant talking about politics, and then sports, and then finally Bible before they go home. And yeah, it's an interesting world. And when I go there, I have to go to that restaurant that's called Caravan in Beverly Hills, the Arab restaurant. Yeah, my time is up. God bless you all. Thank you.